Hey everybody, it's Monica with Your Best Female Figure, and today is my 44th birthday, so I have a special video for you. I hope you guys enjoy it. This entire circuit is inspired by boylesque, so boys doing burlesque, or sexy guys who have a lot of body confidence just dancing around in their underwear for the general public, like Brian Hahn, who's a fitness expert and model, and who inspired various circuits that you are looking at on the screen, which you can go grab for free if you sign up for my newsletter. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video today because I had a lot of fun filming it. Okay, so the first four exercises are functional moves that improve stability, mobility, coordination. They also activate your core and glutes and are really important for the intermediate to advanced exercises that are coming up later in this video, and especially if you're going to be doing the dance portion of this circuit. So you go ahead and stand on those balance discs holding a medium weight, about 6 to 8 pounds, and you're going to squat so that your butt almost touches your heels, and then you're slowly going to come up to standing, and you're going to twist the body in one direction and then press that weight overhead and then slowly lower back down. Now, if you don't want to use the weight because that really challenges your balance a little too much, then you can lose the weight. And if you don't have discs, you can always do this on the balls of your feet. So there are many ways to modify this so that it works for you. The main thing is to really focus on what your deep abdominals are doing and to get that full range of motion in that squat, so that you can actually perform better when you're doing that full range of motion lower body stuff during the working circuit. Now, I generally don't recommend that you wear shoes when you're doing this type of training, but these balance discs are kind of slippery when you're barefoot. So I'm wearing a brand new pair of shoes that I recently got. They're very minimalist though, so they have very, very little support. So it almost feels like I'm barefoot. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use discs. You may want to put some shoes on so that you don't slip off. Alright, so once you are finished with whatever version of the balance squat you're doing, you're going to continue with the low windmill, which is a kettlebell exercise, or you can also do it with a sandbell and possibly a dumbbell. I don't like the way it feels with a dumbbell, but that's just my own body, so it could work for you with a dumbbell if you want to try it out. You're going to stand with feet slightly wider than hip width apart, holding that weight with your right hand, and then you're going to turn the feet to the right, so that they're pointing away from your body, and then you're going to contract your deep abdominals and you're going to start bending from that opposite hip, and you're going to lower the weight down to the floor right in front of the arch of your foot, and you're going to keep contracting those deep abdominals to come back up to standing. So a lot of people think that this exercise trains the waist. It doesn't really do that. What it does is it activates your core and it stretches your hips, so it improves hip mobility and core stability. So this is not an oblique exercise. It also happens to be a more advanced exercise. So if you're a tall beginner, this is totally not appropriate for you, and you need to stick with more basic core activation. As you know, I have a ton of videos on how to activate your core with more basic movement, so go and watch that and do that instead if you're a beginner. If you are intermediate to advanced though, you can do this, and you can even add an overhead press. You could even switch the weight to the opposite arm, although that is a little bit more challenging for the shoulder, and shoulder mobility and stability needs to already be present in order for you to be able to do that. Now, if you're somewhere between beginner and advanced and you're wanting to try this but kind of nervous about it, go ahead and try it without the weight. And then once you get comfortable with just the movement, go ahead and add the weight. It actually, that transition is fairly easy. Once you can do it without the weight, you'll be able to do it with the weight fairly easily. Now, once you're finished with windmills, you're going to continue with glute activation. If you've watched my glute activation video, you know how to do all this stuff. So you're just going to grab a mini band and place it around your ankles, really close to your shoes, stand with feet hip width apart, and you're just going to extend that leg back at an angle. Make sure that you're contracting the glute at the top and that you are lowering it back down with control. And you can also lift the leg. So you can either tap the foot or you can actually lift the foot, making sure that the leg stays straight the entire time as it's going back. And then you're going to do it on either side. Now, if that feels too easy, you can always do circles, or you can do all types of other glute activation stuff that you guys have already seen in previous videos. So feel free to play around and experiment with this exercise so that it feels like right for you. So some people have better glute activation in certain positions than in others, so you have to find what works for you. Now, one thing you may notice when you're doing these glute activation exercises is that your core is also working. So your deep abdominals are working hard to also stabilize this movement, so you can focus on both core and glute activation. And also you may want to look into replacing your bands if they're starting to feel a little bit too easy. That means they've lost their elasticity and you're not going to be getting the full benefit or challenge of this very affordable and fun piece of fitness gear. So make sure that you replace them if they're ready to be replaced. Okay, so once you're finished with these mini band hip extension exercise, you're going to continue with core activation on the chair. Now you can start from a seated position and do that bicycle motion just to kind of get the feel for it, but then you want to lay back with your head completely hanging off the chair and just minimally supported with the hands. If you struggle with any kind of neck issue, just place your tongue on the roof of your mouth the entire time. It's going to help support because it activates muscles in your neck that help support the neck. And then all you have to do is dip those legs down in that same bicycle motion, making sure to contract your deep abdominals to keep your back from arching off the chair. So you don't want to contract so hard that you are completely flattening your back into the chair, but you also don't want your low back to completely arch and have, you know, somebody be able to put their hand underneath your back. So somewhere in between those two extremes is where you want to be, and you definitely want to feel that contraction happening in the deep abs. So that's what this exercise is all about. It's about activating your core against that movement of the leg. Once you're finished with your functional exercises, you are ready for 3 to 4 working circuits if you're not dancing, or 2 to 3 working circuits if you are doing the dancing at the very end. We're going to start with the single leg deadlift, a little bit different version than what you've seen in some of my other videos. So you're going to balance on one leg, bring the opposite foot behind that supporting leg's knee and holding the weight with that side, with that free side, and then you're going to bend from the hips to reach that weight down to the floor, making sure that that supporting leg knee is not locked. You want it just slightly bent so that you don't overstretch your hamstring. And at the top, you're going to squeeze the glute of that top leg really hard, and you're going to pause there for just a second, and then you're slowly going to come back up to standing. This is a very intense butt exercise. It's one of the best exercises for developing round, lifted, firm glutes. So if you are lacking in the glute department, this exercise is essential, and it's why it's one of the essential moves from Love Your Booty and a bunch of other circuits that I film for some of my other workout plans as well. Now, if you struggle with your balance, you can always use the chair for a little bit of support. Make a peace sign, place both fingers on the chair for support. Try not to put your whole hand on the chair, and definitely don't lean into the chair, because then that defeats the purpose of the exercise, which is to work your glutes, hamstrings, and also your deep abdominals. Another quick tip is if you are lacking in the glute department, you definitely want to use more weight with this. I often use a 15-pound dumbbell with this. You could definitely use a 20-pound dumbbell if you got that kind of strength. A 10-pound dumbbell is good if you're wanting to maintain. It's what I like using when I film, but it's not what I use when I train. I use a little bit more weight. Now, once you're finished with a single leg deadlift, you're going to continue with the squat, pulse, and gliding lunge. So you're going to come down into a low squat. Make sure that your thighs are parallel with that chair. And then you're going to pulse it 8 times, and you're going to glide that right foot out to the side. Make sure that you're not lifting back up, that you're sitting into those heels. You can place your fingertips on the chair if you need help with that. And then repeat the pulses again, and then glide the opposite foot out to the side. You really should be feeling most of this on your glutes, a little bit on the thighs and inner thighs. So once you're finished with that gliding squat lunge combo, you're going to continue with this full range of motion lunge. So you're going to start from a seated twist position. You're going to press into that front foot, specifically the heel, and you're going to come up to standing. You can either balance on the supporting leg by lifting the opposite heel up and touching with your hand, or you can also swing the leg out to the side and kind of, swing your hip out a little bit and kind of put a little dance movement into it. And you're just doing this very continuous movement. Pick a tempo and try and stick with that tempo, up, down, and then other side. Now this exercise is fairly advanced, so if you are a beginner, just stick with a regular curtsy lunge. But if you have done my Shim box get up from a previous sexy dance video, then you are familiar with this movement pattern. The difference is you're not zigzagging the legs and having to cross one leg over into that seated twist every time, and you're also not alternating sides, so this concentrates the work a little bit more, and it requires a little bit more muscular endurance, which is a little bit more challenging than alternating from side to side and giving one side a break while the other side is working. So try to have fun with it. It's actually a very fun exercise. If you add a little bit of hip movement, if you add a little bit of balance to it, it can be very fun even though you are working very hard. Now, once you're finished with that, we're going to continue with Shim box rollover variations. Now, if you've been on my Facebook, you've seen all the comparisons of this exercise. It's a Pilates move, it's a dance move, it's also a martial arts move, and it's a tactical fitness move. So a lot of different types of disciplines use this move to condition the spine as well as the deep abdominals. This is a very advanced movement. So if you're a beginner, I would recommend that you go back to the basics of core stuff that I have on my channel, and you do that first before you attempt something like this, because you can really hurt yourself, your neck specifically, if you do this incorrectly. So you're going to sit with your legs in a zigzag position, and then you're going to bring the knees to center. You're going to roll back down by curving the spine. So that curvature of the spine is going to pull you to the floor, and then you're going to use your deep abdominals to lift the hips up, and then you're going to do a variety of positions with your legs. There should be absolutely no pressure above the shoulders, so your neck should be free to move around. I forgot to mention, this is also a yoga pose. So like I said, a lot of disciplines use this to condition the core, and it's a really fun exercise once you've mastered the basics of it. After that last rep of Shim box rollover, you're going to stay in that top position with your legs overhead, and you're going to support your back with your hands, and you're going to do the Pilates Bicycle, which is a very fun core move. If you're doing it correctly, you are feeling a very strong contraction in the deep abdominals and nothing else. So no pressure on the neck, no tension in the shoulders, and just your lower abs working to support that movement of the legs, which is why we practiced it on the chair first. If you're a beginner, this move is not for you. Stick with the basics, and then once you get stronger and start practicing a little bit more advanced Pilates movement, then you can add this in. Finally, the last exercise is this really fun warrior flow. So you're going to start from warrior 2. You're going to reach back into warrior 1, which is a bit of a back bend and also partly a twist. And then from there, you're going to transition into triangle pose. So that's why we were practicing those windmills at the very start. And this exercise is really great for improving total body flexibility and mobility. You do need quite a bit of core stability and upper back stability as well. So if you don't feel comfortable with that back bend in reverse warrior, then just skip that portion until you get comfortable with just the basic warrior 2 down to the triangle. And then as you start to feel stronger, you can always add that in. Once you're done with this entire circuit, you can repeat it up to 4 times, or if you're going to dance it out, then just repeat it 2 to 3 times depending on how long you're going to be dancing it out. Now, I had planned on including the dance segments of this workout in this video, but this video is already too long. So if you want to watch all that plus footage of me lacing and unlacing a corset and what a pain all that is when you're trying to dance in a steel bone corset, then be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Access for all that stuff is private and for subscribers of my newsletter only. So if you want to see all that stuff, that video will be available to my subscribers, and also some tips on how to dance it out with barefoot, with heels, without heels, however you want to dance it out. If you're wanting to get sexy for your man, all that stuff is going to be in that second video. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I will be back soon with another video and more tips to help you get your best female figure.